Hi everybody, I hope you're doing well. My name is Nathan, and today we're going to take a look at Jeskai Kiki Control. If you've been following my YouTube channel, then you know that I've kind of been bouncing between a few different decks lately. Played some Blue Moon, dabbled in some Esper Control, looked at some Jeskai, Pyromancer, Monastery Mentor decks, just kind of doing some stuff different than what I usually do, which is oftentimes Jeskai Geist. And I'm kind of looking for a deck that I feel like I can play at GP Bologna to some reasonable success. I'm not really a if you can't beat him, join him type of guy when it comes to Magic. And, some may argue that the new Eldrazi decks are just the thing to be doing right now if you want to win a GP. And that may be right, but as much as I'd like to win a GP, it's not my that's not really how I guess I want to play Magic. Now you may argue that, well, that's what you want to do if you're really serious, but man, my goals really with this game are to have fun, win where I can, and to play the decks I like. So because of that, I don't jump around to decks that are kind of the current flavor of the month, if you will. I'm just more happy playing the game, trying to find a deck that I feel like I can do well with, and enjoying that deck. So I want to give Jeskai Kiki Control a try for a couple of reasons. I tried Blue Moon, and I think Blue Moon is a cool deck. It's very streamlined in that it's just blue-red control. It's only two colors, but the deck has some downsides. It has trouble closing games quickly, and its removal for large creatures is both less efficient than what you get from white and more restrictive. You get Roast, but Roast is not an instant. It's not as efficient. It costs 2 instead of 1. And it also can only kill something up to 5, and those are some really big deals right now when it comes to decks like Eldrazi. I think that you need to be playing Path to Exile if you're not going to play Eldrazi, but you're going to play some kind of controlling game plan, mid-range type plan, because they can come out of the gate so quickly that having to spend 2 mana to kill something, even if you're successful, might mean you're just dying to everything else that they've played. So I think it's really important to be able to path big creatures really quickly and have that spell that you, in this case, exiled them with, be really efficient so that you can quickly flash it back with Snapcaster Mage. I also wanted the ability to win on the spot. I wanted to be able to play a controlling game plan with the understanding that maybe it's going to be impossible to completely shut down the board, completely control the board. And I want a way to be able to win the game even if I can't do that. Even if I'm just buying time while I'm maybe searching for the Restoration Kiki Jiki combo, I want the ability to do that rather than have to establish complete board dominance. So that's another reason to look at this deck. And also having the power to just get free wins, having the power to essentially be losing the game and then just come back and win it is incredibly powerful and will probably net you a lot of wins that you may otherwise have lost. The other thing is maybe not to play Blue Moon, or maybe to consider Jeskai over Blue Moon, at least why I'm considering it now, is that while Blue Moon is great, and you'd expect it to be absolutely fantastic against Eldrazi and fantastic against Tron, it has times where it is, and it also has times where nobody cares. Against Tron, they have a lot of cantrip effects that net them mana in their eggs, so they can continue to more or less operate and eventually just get enough lands in play where your Blood Moon doesn't matter. Not to mention the fact that Oblivion Stone can be cast for colorless mana. The same thing, well, not the same thing, but also against Eldrazi, there are times where maybe you have a Blue Moon, but it doesn't really matter. They're still able to deploy giant endless ones. Maybe they even have a Cavern of Souls, so you can't counter it, and you have no way to kill those creatures because they're just too big. But also, they can get enough mana in play where they don't really necessarily care about Blood Moon as well. But probably the biggest downside is that, instead of saying Snapcaster Mage, flashing back Path to Exile with 3 mana, you're playing Blood Moon and they have like 9 power on the table, or something to that effect. So I think that Blue Blood Moon is obviously very powerful, but against at least like the colorless Eldrazi deck, sometimes I think like it felt like it just almost didn't do enough or was too slow. The other issue is the Blue Moon deck has to rely a lot on its counter spells to deal with problematic creatures because it doesn't have a removal suite that's as good as Jeskai's. And against a deck like Blue-Red Eldrazi, they run like 3 or 4 Cavern of Souls, so sometimes you're just left staring at remands and mana leaks that do absolutely nothing, and 2 bolts and a roast in your hand, and no way to kill their 4/4s and 5/5s. Or, you know, maybe you can with roast, but you're just not going to be able to do it at instant speed and be as efficiently as you need to. So that's, you know, that was kind of my feelings after playing that deck. I think if there was no Blue-Red Eldrazi and it was just colorless, it would be a little bit better. But I still think that this deck has the chance to be a little bit better. Not to mention you get an actual sweeper. So if the Eldrazi deck's really able to deploy a bunch of threats quickly, you have the opportunity to just clean everything up and gain some significant card advantage with Supreme Verdict, whereas the Blue-Red control deck kind of lacks that functionality. Now, as far as card selection, I'm not running any Ghost Quarters, and I really want to, but I'm not sure that I can. I don't remember exactly the number of blue sources that I counted up. I want to say it was like 23, but we need at least 22 blue sources to hit 3 blue on turn 4, and we need 21 red sources to hit 3 red on turn 5. Now, one thing that I don't want to happen in this deck is I don't want to not be able to cast my spells or not be able to win the game because I'm not hitting my colors. So I'm kind of electing, at least for the moment, to not run any Ghost Quarters, even though I think that that is a liability. I would really like to run 2 or 3 Ghost Quarters. I'm just, at the moment, not really sure where I want to cut. I could potentially cut an Arad Mesa or 2. And in fact, that's probably where the cut would come from. But again, then I'm effectively cutting down on the number of colored sources that I have, and I really don't want to be in a position where I can win the game. I could win the game, but I can't because I just don't have enough red mana or something like that. So there's 61 cards in the deck. I'm kind of not sure what I want to cut yet. It's either going to be a Helix or it's going to be an Electrolyze. Helix makes us a little bit better against Burn. Electrolyze makes us a little bit better against Affinity as well as any Scion tokens. So things to consider. I don't want to run 4 Wall of Omens. I mean, I think Wall of Omens is a nice card. I like it. And I think the fact that Burn is playing Wild Nacatls and stuff like that is a fine reason to run it. But I don't know. You know, I've played the deck in the past, and getting your hand clawed with just a million Wall of Omens is not really where I want to be. So I want to have access to it. I want to be able to blink it with Restoration Angel, or with Kiki, make a copy with Kiki Jiki if I need to. But I don't want to be on the 4 Wall of Omens plan. So for now, I think I'll try cutting. I'll try cutting the Helix, because if I could run a Jeskai control deck with 4 Electrolyze, I would. The other thing I'm not sure about the sideboard here is this card. So one thing I would like to do is have access to a 3rd Kiki Jiki for the decks where we want to be more all in on the combo. I'm not sure what to cut yet. I like Spellskite because there's a lot of Infect right now, and I also like Spellskite because we can combo. It's a spell that we can proactively use. So because of that, I like having Spellskite in a list more than I normally would. I like the negates for just combo decks, you know, things like being able to counter a Living End or being able to counter a Karn. I like they're fine against Burn too. I also like the Dispels against Burn. Obviously, I like them against combo decks, other blue decks if there's any out there, and I like them against Infect as well. Don't have any Engineered Explosives right now. I really like that card, but I think that against decks like Affinity, Stony Silence, and Supreme Verdict have the potential to get us there. We also have Is It Static Caster and Wear Tears. So I could potentially cut a Wear Tear to make room for this Kiki Jiki. Now, I'd like to have 2 Crumble to Dust for Tron. I don't think it's as good against the Eldrazi deck because by the time you play it, they've already potentially vomited out their hand. The other option would be something like Molten Rain, but I don't know that Molten Rain is good enough against... I don't know that Molten Rain is good enough against a deck like Tron, just having 2 Molten Rains in the side, or even... I don't know that it's good enough against Eldrazi, so I'm not really sure what I want to do here. I may just go to the 1 Crumble to Dust, which then makes me wonder why am I even running it. It does have some utility against some other decks, Manland, stuff like that, but I think it might be more important to have access to this, because even against, say, a deck like Tron, we can try to mainly counter their Oblivion Stones, which would prevent us from comboing, and try to maybe bring in the 3rd Kiki Jiki and set up to combo. The one thing that I am lacking from this deck that I wish I had at least a couple of is Serum Visions. That's another reason that I want to run Electrolyze, because I just want more ways to cantrip through the deck. The thing is that I do feel like this is more of a traditional control deck, and I'm not sure that Serum Visions is where I want to be. That's not true. I know that if I could find the room, I would want to at least have like 2. But I don't think this is like a 4. Could be. Like, I'm sure there's a case for that, but I'm going to try running the deck without it for now. Okay, yeah, so this is the list that I think I'll play through the series. I would like to have Anger of the Gods, but again, like, this hits Eldrazi as well as decks like Melira. So yeah, if you guys have any suggestions or opinions on the list or comments or anything, obviously leave them in the description. I know this was kind of a long introduction, but or deck tech, if you will, but I just wanted to sort of discuss it. And obviously, you guys have been watching my videos. You know that you can skip past this to the games if you don't really like it. Okay, or like that part of the video. So it's 11:30. I think I have time to get in 1 game now, but then I got some stuff I got to go do. So I will see you guys momentarily. Hey, before I jump into the games, I decided to make a last-minute deck change. A card I've been wanting to play a little bit more of and just try a bit more in general is Spreading Seas. So what I did was I cut the 3rd Electrolyze and I cut the 3rd Mana Leak for 2 Spreading Seas in the main, and I cut the Crumble to Dust, and I cut the 3rd Kiki Jiki for 2 Spreading Seas in the side. I like that they come down really early, and I like that they have the potential to hit like Caverner of Souls, Manlands, Tron, all that stuff. So want to give this a try. I also like that they cantrip, so we could potentially just get 1 more card closer to a combo kill. So I'm going to give this list a try. Might be wrong, might be a little weird, but you know what? Got to be experimenting, trying things. So I'll enter a league and see you guys in a second. All right, so we have a match here. We're playing against Smalland. We lost the die roll, so waiting for him to decide whether or not he plays first. I'm sure he will. I think this hand is okay. Depending upon what we're facing, we may be able to shock ourselves with Steam Vents and hold up Spell Snare, which may be okay. We have some interaction with creatures that isn't too expensive. But overall, I would prefer to see 3 lands. But I don't think I can throw this away, so we just have to kind of hope to draw them. And let's see what we see. Mountain. Okay, so burn. At least it'll be fast. It gave us the land. Kind of him. We're going to have to discard something, though. Let's see. I'm going to play this Flooded Strain. I want to take as little damage as possible, and I can actually get a Plains, and instead of taking 2, I'll functionally just take 1. And as far as what I plan to discard, I think it's actually going to be Electrolyze. I guess there is a chance I could discard Atlantic, but yeah, no, I'm gonna discard Electrolyze. It's if he's like playing Naya, it's not particularly good against the Coddle. If this is an Eidolon, and okay, so what is? So I guess he's actually playing Goblins. Okay, so now I kind of wish I had Electrolyze, but what you gonna do? All right, I'm gonna let the trigger hit the stack here, and then go ahead and get a Plains and Path X Goblin Guide. And Goblin Guide reveals a Remand. I'm going to play a Colonnade. I think that I don't want to shock. It's not exactly like Burn, but I still think we want to try to take as little damage as possible. I don't just want to snap Path this. Assuming he's playing like Goblin Chieftain, I'm a little bit more interested in potentially pathing that. Well, that Electrolyze would have been pretty fair. Okay, so let's see. Yeah. I could path. I mean, this is going to die anyway. But I do kind of deny him access to a token. I don't know if that's good enough. I think I'm just going to path this Legion Loyalist. I'm not thrilled about giving him so many lands, but Leak might be useful. I guess if he has like a Goblin Chieftain, it'll be fine. Denizen. When it enters the battlefield, that's kind of annoying. And even if he has a goblin, okay, so now his hand is empty. Yeah, we definitely want to counter Goblin Bushwhacker. That'll give all of his other creatures +1. The spell I was meaning to mention was Goblin Grenade. I was wondering if he was going to have if Goblin Grenade was his last card. So Electrolyze would be a good draw. Do I want to take 2 to save 1? See, if I do that, then I go 11, 10, 9, and I basically go 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And then the next turn is block something. Assuming he doesn't play anything, the next turn would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so I'd go to 9. I'd go 9, 10, 8. Sorry, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Assuming he doesn't play anything, block again, and go to 5, 4, 3, 2. It's pretty precarious. The other option is to sit on Spell Snare and Remand, which I don't think are going to do very much. Alright, well this is super sketch, but I'm taking 2 so that I can play Restoration Angel. I want to actually block Mog Fanatic, I think. Because he can, in theory, attack with this and then sacrifice it at some point. Alright. Crypt Command could be useful. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I just want to attack. He did not play Goblin Grenade, which, he didn't play anything, which makes me worry, oh man, is he just kind of sitting on a Goblin Grenade? We're gonna tap draw, obviously, is the plan here. And the reason we're drawing is, we're not in a position to win with the cards that we have. So we could still die to a Goblin Grenade here, but I think we need to try to draw into something that's going to stabilize this game for us. Okay, so just play Wall of Omens, which will just probably have to block Goblin Pile Driver. So that doesn't really do very much. It does cycle. So we have the option to cycle into a Bolt or a Path or something. Too bad we don't have a Sacred Foundry, because then we could leave up Bolt or Path. So we've already cast 2 Path to Exiles, so I'm just going to kind of hope that we cycle our way into a Bolt here. We didn't. Yeah, okay, so we're most likely dead here. What is everything he casts? Spell Snare does not look too great against this deck. It's okay against that spell, but I guess it's okay against Pile Driver as well. I don't know that I want Spell Snare, though. Let's see. Yeah, we're dead. I can't rev for. I can rev for 1 card. So. Feel sad about throwing away that Electrolyze. That's okay. Like, Goblins is not very. The Goblins is not like a played deck. Okay, so I think as a static caster seems like it would be fairly good. I'm not really thrilled at all about Spreading Seas. I think it's mostly useless. The Electrolyze looks relatively good. He's mostly a creature deck, so I don't think the remands are great either. Supreme Verdict seems like a reasonable card because he does just really flood the board. Oh man. I guess negate hits. I don't like negate. Let me say that. But we need another card, and negate hits Goblin Grenade, which he's absolutely playing. I don't really like Spell Snare either, but I don't see a lot else to bring in. So I think we're going to run this here. I mean, this is slow, but he's really more of a creature deck, so I don't want to be loaded up on things like negate. This negate might even be too much, but like I said, what else are we going to bring in here? I mean, maybe if he plays Blood Moon, that's a distinct possibility. Could hedge against that, but I don't think I'm going to. All right. Yeah, not great, but reasonable. I know that I have the Colonnade I could play out, but if he has a turn 1 Goblin Guide, I am interested in casting a Path to Exile on it. I'm not as interested in casting it on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to get Sacred Foundry. There's a chance that we draw like Bolt, and kind of want to have that as an option as well. Okay, so now I definitely will place Colonnade and pass the turn back. Okay, yeah, I will Path to Exile this. Oh no. Well, at this point, maybe it doesn't. Let me think. I think I still just Path the Goblin Guide, because if he untaps and plays a token generator, then I'm going to want to kill tokens and this, and I think it's worth taking 1 additional damage to do that. Snapcaster Mage. Okay. Alright, well I do want to go ahead and play the island and pass. Burning Tree Emissary. Alright. If he didn't play this, I was actually going to... Oh, that's annoying. Might actually lose to Goblins. So we're going to electrolyze here and here. Because what we're going to want to do, we want to get rid of this because next turn we're going to want to Snapcaster Mage, Path, and block something. So... in this case, I guess I can actually let the... What is it? Man, I wonder if it makes more sense to draw first. This is like such a small edge, it's probably not even worth spending too much brain power thinking about it. I think I'll let it resolve. Okay, so it was a bolt, which is useful. And then I'm going to go ahead and electrolyze like this. Draw the bolt. Jeez. Yeah, I think I do that. Let's see, my other options are to... I could go... Let's see. I could take 2 in Verdict. I could take none and snap Path something, which means I'll still take 2. I can take 2 and then snap bolt block. So I think I actually just like taking 2 and just dealing with all these creatures with this card. And then hope I live. hope it's not that Surge guy again, because then we're dead. That would just be sad. What are the odds, though, that he had a hand with 2 Burning Trees and 2 Reckless, whatever these things are? We need to draw a Lightning Helix. What is this? Oh. Alright, well. Game. Okay, so lost to Goblins. That's not something I expected to happen, but I don't think that there was a way with the cards we drew that we could have won that game. Not really worried about it. I mean, Goblins is not a deck that I expect to face very much. It is unfortunate to start the league 0-1, but what you gonna do? Okay, guys, thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you guys in round 2 with Jeskai Kiki Control.